Qualitative risk analysis involves subjectively assessing the probability of occurrence, potential impact, and other attributes of identified risks to evaluate and prioritize them, and conduct further analysis if needed. Based on the results of the qualitative risk analysis, project teams can concentrate their efforts on the negative risks that pose the greatest threats and the positive risks that offer the most valuable opportunities. Before performing qualitative risk analysis, however, project teams may conduct a risk data quality assessment to ensure they work with high-quality risk data. As its name implies, risk data quality assessment evaluates the reliability, accuracy, and completeness of the data used to analyze project risks. Conducting qualitative risk analysis involves assessing the probability of occurrence and potential impact of each identified risk using a predefined rating, such as low, medium, or high, or a scale of 1 to 10. The team members and other involved stakeholders collaborate to provide subjective assessments of the probability and impact of each identified risk. In addition to assessing the probability and impact rating for the identified risks, the project team can analyze other parameters during the qualitative risk analysis, such as urgency, dormancy, controllability, and/or connectivity. Urgency highlights the time of a risk and identifies those that require immediate attention. Dormancy represents the time span between the occurrence of a risk and the manifestation of its impact. Controllability determines the extent to which the project team can influence the outcome of a risk, and connectivity indicates the degree of interdependence or interrelation between project risks. Note that qualitative risk analysis is subjective and relies on the experience, perception, and judgment of the project team and stakeholders. To ensure reliable results, it is essential to involve diverse perspectives and engage in open communication when performing the analysis. Following the assessment, risks are prioritized according to their probability and impact ratings. One approach for prioritizing risks involves calculating their risk score by multiplying their probability and impact ratings and ranking them based on these scores. Another prevalent method involves categorizing and prioritizing risks using a probability and impact matrix. The probability and impact matrix is a risk analysis tool that classifies and prioritizes positive or negative risks based on their probability of occurrence and potential impact by plotting them on a grid. This enables team members to identify high-priority risks and focus on the risks that pose the greatest threats or offer the most significant opportunities. Following is an example probability and impact matrix. The probability and impact matrix is divided into priority groups indicated by distinct colors. In our example matrix, the risks that fall into the darker shades represent those with very high or high probability and impact and demand the highest level of attention. Lighter shades denote risks with lower probability and impact ratings. Note that the rating scale used to create the probability and impact matrix aligns with the definitions of risk probability and impacts in the risk management plan. If the project team employs a 1 to 10 rating scale, instead of employing low, medium, and high classifications, this scale is represented in the rows and columns of the probability and impact matrix. Risk management activities, including risk identification, performing qualitative risk analysis, and responding to risks, are ongoing activities, as risks change and new risks may emerge throughout the project. At the end of the risk analysis, the project team updates the risk register to document the probability and impact ratings of each risk and their priorities. Additionally, the risk report is updated to reflect the latest information on highest priority risks. Following risk analysis, the team can start planning and implementing risk responses based on the relative priorities of risks. Planning risk responses involves developing strategies to eliminate or minimize threats and exploit or enhance opportunities. At this stage, A risk owner is typically designated to be responsible for selecting and implementing an appropriate response strategy for each project risk. Lastly, let's take a look at the ultimate tips for exam success. Qualitative risk analysis is subjective. Its accuracy relies on the experience, perception, and judgment of the project team and stakeholders. All risk management activities, including qualitative risk analysis, are performed for both positive and negative risks. When analyzing positive risks, project teams assess their potential positive impact. Before performing qualitative risk analysis, the project team may conduct a risk data quality assessment to ensure they are working with high-quality risk data. Conducting qualitative risk analysis involves assessing the probability of occurrence and potential impact of each identified risk using a predefined scale, such as low, medium, or high, or a scale of 1 to 10. Additionally, the team can analyze other parameters such as urgency, dormancy, controllability, and/or connectivity. Following a qualitative risk assessment, risks are prioritized according to their probability and impact ratings. One approach for prioritizing risks involves calculating a risk score by multiplying their probability and impact ratings. Consider a scenario where you are asked to prioritize two given risks. Risk A has a probability of occurrence rating of 6 and a potential impact rating of 5, while risk B has a probability of occurrence rating of 4 and a potential impact rating of 9. In this case, risk B has a higher risk score, which is 36, as compared to risk A's score of 30, indicating that risk B has a higher priority. Another prevalent method to prioritize risks based on their probability and impact ratings involves using a probability and impact matrix. The probability and impact matrix is divided into priority groups to quickly identify high-priority risks. At the end of the risk analysis, the team updates the risk register to document the probability and impact ratings of each risk and their priorities. They also update the risk report to reflect the latest information on highest priority risks. Risk management activities, including risk identification, performing qualitative risk analysis, and responding to risks, are ongoing activities, as risks change and new risks may emerge throughout the project.